are Marauder Hunters, both variants, any good past 6.1.4. This covers the missile infantry for the Norscans, and there's only the 2 variants. Let's dive into the icy depths and see just how this works, since I've been promised some hybrid shenanigans. Recruited for 550 gold and 138 upkeep, the base variant gets 90 entities and 6,030 health between them. Armor is 15, leadership a shaky looking 50. Speed 35 and charge speed 43 is exactly as fast as normal Marauders. Melee attack begins at 36, with an attack interval 4.2 just like normal Marauders. And wasn't that a really high melee attack? No splash damage. Melee defense only 20, that's a knock on a unit, not carrying, and an axe large enough to cut down a tree spirit. Weapon strength 28 is split base 21, and armor piercing 7, same as regular. Charge bonus 12, mass 100. The unit tosses axes. Ammunition is 12 default, range is 80, missile damage for comparison recorded as 35, but each and every axe carries the shield breaker attribute, so each subsequent missile is blocked with a minus 24% penalty, as in, a standard Empire swordsman would block 11% of the axes from the front after the first hits and applies the contact effect, rather than the default of 35%. Each axe impact does base 6 and armor-piercing 22 damage. Reload time is a brisk 8, total accuracy the standard 20, calibration distance 40, so gets less accurate beyond half its maximum range. Within that distance has a calibration distance of 2, and there is a penetration cap of small and a max targets panned after the first of 2, so there's the possibility that a single axe can damage multiple targets if tightly packed. That's luck dependent, but at least it can happen at all. The unit has hide and forest and the same rage attribute the regular Marauders had. Now we look at Marauder Hunters with Javelins. It seems they've done some balanced tinkering. The recruitment cost in single player is 500 gold, but upkeep is still set at 138 if this pretty recently updated card is accurate. Interestingly, melee attack of 26 is a full 10 less than the axe variant. Melee defense is 2 higher at 22. Charge bonus is 8, 4 less. Ammunition 12 is the same amount. Range 90 is 10 higher. Missile strength 31 is split base 18 and armor piercing 7, so it's tilted towards softer flesh. The thing is, there's a bonus versus large of 15, so a 60% increase in the total damage against pistoliers on up. But that's according to the base to AP ratio, so that means AP 11 per impact, but no more than that. The other stats, from reload time to total accuracy, calibration distance to calibration area, and the possibility of multi-target pen, is identical to the axes. The traits are also the same. In the redline skills, Beast Slayers at 3 pips grants both variants ammunition plus 20% and weapon strength plus 8%. At rank 7, Hardened Hunters would grant them missile strength plus 12%, reload time reduction 10%, and missile resistance 15%, and considering they have to get close, well, the whole thing is just really good for them. In the tech tree, I believe Marauder Infantry refers to the melee infantry from the prior video. Axemaker's Stone grants ammunition plus 10% and missile strength plus 15% to the Hunters. Plus 15% is an awfully large boost. Butcher's Captives applies to Marauders generally, and it's melee attack plus 5 and melee defense plus 5. Sea Marauders Tools for plus 5 leadership applies to those ones too. Champions of War gives plus 2 recruit rank. Some of the faction-specific stuff late in the tech tree is specific to a faction when you fight it. Secrets of the Court says missile strength plus 15%. That'd be a lot there. So how do we use Marauder Hunters? I get there is a place for the Javelins. If you're fighting trolls, and I mean normal trolls, not some armored variant, this is a lot of extra damage. Dogs and bats of small size won't apply, but lots of other stuff will. Aside from 10 extra range, if you are not fighting a large target that is adequately squishy, you are actively hurting yourself getting the Javelin variant, both at ranged combat and in melee. The insignificant 2 points better melee defense won't make up for that much less offense for when your Javelins run dry. So bring Javelins when you have a specific need to be bringing them. Those needs absolutely exist. Gyrocopters, not so much. They provide no damage advantage against hounds or bats units because the overall damage is 4 less than the axes of the base unit with the same reload time, and that means you have no advantage except in the sense the Javelins are very direct fire used optimally, so there is less travel time and therefore slightly faster unleashing of your ammo capacity. Now, let's ease back and take a brief look in a different context. The Empire crossbowmen I use for most red team use do 18 base and 6 armor piercing per bolt, but have a reload time of 13. Javelins do near identical damage against normal targets, but have a reload time of 8. In other words, even javelins, which as I pointed out, do less damage against man-sized targets, will outdamage crossbowmen when they get into their range. The crossbowmen are actually ever so slightly tougher, but the point is, should Marauder hunters survive to get into a missile duel, they'll outdamage the crossbowmen by a fair bit. In a sense, you don't want them to do this because crossbowmen are not the ideal targets of either type, but it'll still work. Should they unload against regular infantry, the damage over a shorter period of time, with less ammo, for long battles, clearly outperforms most missile infantry troops. Again, this is including the javelins. This is to say I don't think javelins are bad. It's to say I think that a lot of the factions I typically fight have armor and shields, and if one of the two are your problems, you're probably safer favoring the axes. And what you basically have here is a 90 entity, non-fire whilst moving, non-360 degree firing, very killy in melee with low chin, infantry version of Marauder horsemen with throwing axes. In terms of damage, it's there. So, what are the downsides? Obviously, there's no shields. The health really is slightly below Empire crossbowmen, the armor is really low, so massed arrow fire is going to utterly demolish them, so you need to plan around that. But, in terms of turning the tide in frontline infantry fights, throwing axes can be amazing. For javelins, there are matchups against fellow Norscans and some chaos stuff that really favors them, hence my saying their disadvantages are for general situations, specific ones means they're still doing outsized burst damage. Just stop hoping for better once armor rises above, let's say, 60 or so. This means general beastmen, minotaurs, and centaurs are going to absorb a lot of hurt, and so on. Take care and have fun playing Rock, Axe, Javelin with your foes. The right combination opens all sorts of tin cans of pain, armor-piercing axes and all that.